Good afternoon, and welcome to the live. Today, we do not have anything going on with Diddy's trial today. We didn't have anything going on yesterday because a juror was sick. So we'll be back live streaming the Diddy trial tomorrow, presuming it continues. The prosecution was going to hopefully wrap up their case by tomorrow, but now that'll probably be pushed out a bit, and then the defense team has to put on their team. So just wanted to explain why you have not seen any lives on the Diddy trial within the last couple of days. But today, what we are here to do is to literally go through the complete lawsuit filed against Tyler Perry. And one of the reasons that I wanted to do this is because I read the text messages from Derek Dixon. And when I read those text messages, I said, okay, okay. I just felt like it was a whole bunch of nothing. I definitely did not see $260 million worth of anything. So I thought, let's look at the complete filing just to see if there's something more there. But yeah, right now, just based off of, and this is just based off of what was released in those text messages on different media sites, I'm like, you're gonna need more than this. You're gonna need way more than this if you are wanting $260 million. I think you're gonna need way more than this if you wanted 260,000. It just there was no there, in my opinion. All right, so we are going to jump into this paperwork. Thank you for joining the live. Please thumbs up the live and drop a comment, even if it is just to say hello. And if you are not a subscriber to the channel already, please subscribe. Appreciate your support very, very, very much. So let's pull up the paperwork and get into it. Okay. And it's 46 pages long. But I am committed. I have committed to reading all of these 46 pages so we can see what's really going on with at least by what is filed. Because like I said, those text messages, that is not enough. He's gonna need something more than that because I didn't see much there at all. All right, so of course we know it's Derek Dixon who is suing Tyler Perry. um he's suing them as an individual, the production service, the LLC, the liability company. So he threw in some extra factors in there. We saw something similar when Cassie filed her lawsuit against Diddy. It wasn't just against him, but it was also against like his company and other things business oriented and such. All right. Let's jump in. So the plaintiff Derek Dixon files his complaint against the defendant Tyler Perry. And hold on 1 second, because who am I to think that I can read 46 pages without my eyeglasses? And I guess I'm going to have to, because right now I cannot find them. Hold on 1 second, y'all. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so the plaintiff Derek Dixon files his complaint against defendant Tyler Perry, aka Emmett. Did y'all know Tyler Perry's name was Emmett? I did not know that. Emmett Perry Jr. I did not know that. Okay, and Action LLC, blah blah blah. We don't care about any of that. Okay. The following complaint is pled on information and belief. This case arises from a sustained pattern of workplace sexual harassment, assault, and retaliation perpetrated by Tyler Perry, a powerful media mogul, against plaintiff Derek Dixon, a professional actor and screenwriter. Mr. Perry is an American actor, filmmaker, and playwright who has built one of the most successful careers in the film and television industry. Mr. Perry took his success and power and used his considerable influence in the entertainment industry to create a coercive, sexually exploitive dynamic with Mr. Dixon. Initially, promising him career advancement and creative opportunities, such as producing his pilot and casting him in his show, only to subject him to escalating sexual harassment. Okay, just okay, only to subject him to escalating sexual harassment, assault, and battery and professional retaliation when Mr. Dixon did not reciprocate Mr. Perry's unwanted advances. These events occurred while Mr. Dixon was employed as a series regular on the Tyler Perry show, The Oval, and while Mr. Perry held direct control over his employment, compensation, and creative opportunities. Tyler Perry rose against all odds to become one of the powerful figures in the entertainment industry. His success story, once a symbol of perseverance and self made achievement, has now become a cautionary tale of how unchecked power, wealth, and influence can corrupt those who attain it. Well, now, okay, this is his attorneys writing this, but we have not drawn that conclusion yet. We have not drawn that conclusion yet. Okay. Among other contracts, Perry received a lucrative multi-year partnership with Oprah Winfrey Network, with the Oprah Winfrey Network and his net worth tops $1.36 billion. Tyler Perry's rise to fame and fortune elevated him from a powerless victim to a figure of tremendous wealth, influence, and power, culminating in the ownership of his own film studio. Rather than using his influence responsibly, Tyler Perry has engaged in a pattern of misconduct where he exploited his position of power. Tyler Perry has been using his power and influence to molest, abuse, and sexually assault impressionable and vulnerable employees and actors who look to him for guidance and mentorship while pursuing their dreams. Ooh, just like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Sean P. Diddy Combs, Kevin Spacey, Roger Ailes, and many others in the industry, Mr. Perry's success has led him to believe that money and influence can get him whatever he wants. That belief slowly transformed into the false idea that Mr. Perry can get whomever he wants. There are things in life that money cannot buy. I would like to believe that. Okay. All right. Mr. Perry sought the one thing his wealth and influence could not purchase: a sexual relationship with a man who would remain silent. Perry told Mr. Dixon that his ideal relationship would involve a male sexual partner who he could provide for and who would be a loyal but emotionally detached partner who he could provide for and who would be loyal but emotionally detached. Perry told Dixon, "Whoever ends up with me is going to be a happy motherfucker." In essence, Mr. Perry desired a one sided coercive dynamic with a subordinate, an arrangement devoid of mutual consent or emotional reciprocity. Thus began Perry's calculated pursuit of Mr. Dixon. Now, if this is true, if Tyler Perry said that he wanted a male partner, he didn't want the person to be emotionally attached to him, but he would take care of him. If there was a guy who said, "Okay, I'm down with that and I agree to do that," um, is that coercive? Now, I think where it goes wrong is if it's somebody who's working for you or you're trying to be a part of whatever you have from a professional perspective, then I can see. But do y'all know how many people at different levels of income sign on for this? And is it coercive? I'm just asking. Is it coercive or is it a choice? I'll continue. This was not Mr. Perry's first instance of sexual exploitation. He has demonstrated a troubling pattern of exploiting vulnerable male actors and employees, leveraging his industry power to create a cycle of hope and dependency. First, he offers aspiring actors the prospect of career defining opportunities, roles that promise visibility and advancement. Then, once they are in his professional orbit, he uses the weight of his influence to ensnare them, positioning their success as contingent on meeting his demands in a quid pro quo sexual compromise. This pattern of behavior reveals a calculated use of professional power for sexual leverage. Using his influence, Mr. Perry provided vulnerable men with acting positions, roles, show contracts, cars, and money. Once the object of his desire was hooked, Tyler Perry would then put them in fear of losing it all unless they engaged in Mr. Perry's perverted desire for sexual gratification. Mr. Perry would easily, quote unquote, kill off a character in a show of an actor who failed to indulge Perry's sexual fantasies. In one such exchange, Perry stated that he could fix things because the actors of a show he was filming should all be scared because they were all shot at. Wait a minute, hold on. Because they were all shot at, and quote, we don't know who lives, meaning that Tyler Perry was going to use this as a tool to gain compliance with his desires. How does that mean that? How does that mean that? I think that I'm sorry. How does that mean that? This is a cliffhanger situation, almost like you got to be old enough to get this reference. But who shot Jr.? I mean, even if there were multiple people killed back then, which it wasn't, or shot back then, but it's a cliffhanger. How is that? How does that automatically jump to okay? I'm use that. Okay, let's look at this text message. But I swear to you, I know how to fix this shit. I love killing a motherfucker in a show that no one expects. Derek Dixon is in the blue. You could be sipping Mai Tais, counting coconuts right now. Think about the last episode. They were all shot at. We don't know who lives. Exactly. I'm scared. They should be too. Okay. Well, I don't see anything abnormal about that. You're on a TV show. All the characters appear to somebody got shot. It could have been multiple characters who had gotten shot. And this guy, Derek Dixon, is one of those characters, and he's saying he's scared because, losing your job or being off the show if you are killed off. Okay, but let's continue. Meaning that okay. Derek Dixon was Mr. Perry's sexual desire ever since they became acquainted. Dixon was working as part of the event staff for a party hosted by Mr. Perry. When Perry noticed him, Perry immediately offered Dixon the chance to audition for a part in one of his TV productions. Dixon agreed and was on set with Perry behind the camera for weeks in close quarters. During the time they were filming, Perry would send flirtatious text messages to Dixon. For example, in one message, Perry stated that he was jealous when he saw Dixon going on a walk with another man named Brad. Why did that photo make me jealous? You two together. Dixon says, ha ha ha, I don't know. It's just Brad, LOL. And then Tyler Perry says, LOL. He just wanted to go for a quick walk to get his steps in, and now I'm walking to Chipotle by myself. LOL. Thick Derek, get that Chipotle. Okay. Definitely some flirting going on there. All right. In another text message, Perry stated to Dixon, what's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? Have y'all found that yet in therapy? You can have freedom from religious guilt and still believe in Christ. Okay, the text message here says, what's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? Have y'all found that yet in therapy? Yes, it's the exact same kind of cardiometro. Well, that seems out of order. Giving up my religious guilt, becoming a Buddhist, that's so cool. Where you came from. Okay, that all of that seems like, did somebody edit that? Unfortunately, Derek, I have friends who are in their 50s and 60s who are still dealing with that, and it's so sad. You can have freedom from religious guilt and still believe in Christ. The plaintiff carefully navigated a friendly demeanor to prevent the loss of income and opportunity on the one hand, and on the other, a firm boundary against Perry's advances. Often, when Mr. Perry started drinking, he would demand more attention from the plaintiff and get more aggressive with his flirting. Okay. On one occasion, when Mr. Perry was drinking, he started to become extremely annoyed when Mr. Dixon avoided him. Mr. Perry stated that of the 600 people in his phone book, he only wanted to talk to Mr. Dixon. Again, there's definitely flirting going on here. Treat myself right. What are you doing, Derek? Just talking to my sister, Derek says, I roll for Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry's in the gray. I roll fine. Good night. I'll go through the 600 people in my phone book and be annoyed that I don't want to talk to any of them. Trying to get off so I can go to sleep. LOL. I understand. LOL. LOL. They love saying LOL. Okay. LOL. Apparently, you're not the only one that's been drinking tonight. And then Tyler Perry says, I just started. They didn't. LOL. Okay. LOL, LOL, LOL. Okay. Dixon did his best to tiptoe around Mr. Perry's sexual aggression while keeping on Mr. Perry's good side. Mr. Perry made it clear to Dixon that if Dixon ignored Perry or failed to engage with the sexual innuendos, Dixon's character would die in the next season. Indeed, Dixon's character, Dale, was shot 4 times in the chest at the end of his first season on the Oval. And Perry always held this over Mr. Dixon's head, implying that Dale would survive if Dixon kept Perry happy. If this is true, Dixon, you're gonna need some more text messages a little bit deeper than what I've just saw. Once Perry recognized the extent of control he had over Mr. Dixon, he escalated this behavior. On multiple occasions, Mr. Perry sexually assaulted Mr. Dixon, including one instance where he forcibly pulled off Mr. Dixon's clothing, groped his buttocks, and attempted to force himself on Dixon. Mr. Dixon told a drunken Perry no and attempted to remove Mr. Perry's hands, but Mr. Perry held tightly onto Dixon's wrists. Mr. Dixon was only able to escape after de escalating the situation by abruptly changing the subject. The day after the assault, Mr. Perry called and texted Mr. Dixon relentlessly, saying, Tried you, call me, and I really need to talk to you. Please call as soon as you can. Finally, when Mr. Dixon answered Tyler Perry's call, Mr. Perry profusely apologized for the sexual assault while blaming it on other things. Perry continued he, quote, didn't know why he would do that. Maybe he was self-sabotaging. On the very same call where he apologized for the sexual assault against Dixon, Perry told Dixon, quote, and don't worry, we're going to do your show, referring to the pilot that Perry knew Mr. Dixon had desperately wanted to produce. Dixon, you need some. Do you have that in the text message, or well, he said they were talking on the phone? Because if you had that, that might do it. Versus those text messages that we've seen at this point. Okay, hold on. Let's go to the next one. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Dixon got a call from Perry's lawyer saying that Christmas had come early and that Dixon was getting a substantial raise and the show was greenlit. Perry's attorney explicitly warned Dixon not to tell any other actor on the show about Dixon's raise because no other actors were getting a raise, only Dixon. Okay, that's a let me save my comments till we get to the end because who knows what else we're going to read. Okay. Perry kept telling Dixon that he was sorry and that the harassment would not happen again. However, the harassment and assaults continued. Mr. Perry would also try to deflect the blame for the sexual assault by saying that Dixon didn't have a strong enough no. Mm? Perry told Dixon that, quote, you have to be able to say no to propositions for sex and mean it and make it clear. Okay. Dixon did not know how to answer without facing retaliation, cancellation of his production contact, or perhaps being killed off the show. So instead, Dixon made a joke out of the situation, saying that I'll only say saying that I'll only say yes to sex if it gets me an Oscar. In response, Tyler Perry stated the only one who could have gotten the Oscar for you through sex is in prison. So I guess he's talking about Weinstein. So just stick to the no unless you are really into him. Emphasis added. So let's go back and see what this text says. Nice. Santa Monica is nice. I'm glad you're going out there. How is your no? Is it stronger? You got to have a strong no. This is Tyler Perry. Yes, it's strong. My mom literally thinks I'm going to sell my soul to the Illuminati. Why would your mama think that? Why would your mama think you're almost willing to do anything for some fame? Why would your mama think that? Okay. She heard Kanye say that it's real. Tyler Perry, well, I don't think that, but I do think that you have to be able to say no and mean it and make it clear. I'll only say yes if it gets me an Oscar. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. I hear you. Well, the only one who could have gotten that for you through sex is in prison. So just stick to the no unless you are really into him. Again, I'm assuming talking about Harvey Weinstein. Okay. So 6 in the no. Okay. Perry reveals through these text messages that the no he was referring to was Dixon's no to sex in exchange for promotion in the industry, classically known as quid pro quo sexual harassment. Perry sent this message to Dixon because that is exactly what Tyler Perry was doing. At some point, Dixon left Atlanta and moved to Santa Monica to create distance from Tyler Perry. However, even at long distances, Mr. Perry continued to sexually harass Mr. Dixon. Okay, and this is going into who are the parties. The plaintiff, Derek Dixon, is an individual who resides in the state of California. Defendant Tyler Perry is an individual who resides in both the state of Georgia and the state of California and has extensive business contacts in the state of California, so that he has conducts substantial, continuous, and systematic business activities in California. Then they go into naming the defendant of the LLC. Dependent LLC, again, far as the parties. Plaintiff is ignorant of the true names and capacities of defendants sued herein, as does 1 through 5. Okay, we can skip all of this legal blah, blah, blah. Okay, plaintiff. Okay, more defendant, full parties. Okay, this is just naming who's a part of the parties of the lawsuit. Their own alleged defendant is responsible jointly, okay, on information and belief. It further is alleged that defendants were at all times relevant here to the alter egos of each other, such that to affirm the legal separateness of the defendants. Okay, they're just trying to say Tyler Perry and everything associated with him by way of corporation. There is unity of interest and ownership between the company and its equitable owners, that the separate personalities of the company and its shareholders do not in reality exist. Who all are you trying to come from? Because they did name the Oprah Winfrey Network, but I haven't seen any mention of BET. Plaintiff is informed and believes, and thereon alleges that all times herein mentioned, each of the defendants were acting as a partner, agent, and servant and employee. Okay. Let's see. Venue and jurisdiction. The court has personal jurisdiction. Come on. What is that? Hold on. Let me get back to that part. Okay, here we go. This court has personal jurisdiction over all defendants because they have purposely availed themselves or residents of the state. Okay, so that's just saying it's going to be venue and jurisdiction should be California. So we can skip through that. This action is also timely under California's Sexual Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act. California Sexual Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act amended California civil procedure, extending the statute of limitations, opening up revival windows for adult survivors of sexual assault and related claims, and acknowledging that a 2-year statute of limitations simply does not provide sexual assault survivors adequate time to heal from the physical and emotional trauma of sexual assault and prepare for civil cases. Okay, so let's see. So that's just going into California's rules and regulations and timeframes for filing these type allegations. Factual allegations. Let's see what we have here. In or around September 2019, the plaintiff worked for an event company called Legendary Events in Atlanta that was hired to organize defendant Perry's studio opening party, The Party. Plaintiff was recruited by Tony Conway, the owner of Legendary Events and close friend of Tyler Perry. Mr. Conway decided to place Dixon directly in a role at a party that required frequent conversation with Tyler Perry. Okay. Defendant Perry picked plaintiff out of a crowd of employees present at the party and began asking plaintiff questions about his employment status and whether plaintiff was an actor. In or around early October and on the last day of the party, defendant Perry insisted that he and plaintiff exchanged phone numbers, and Perry subsequently texted plaintiff to introduce himself. Perry began by asking Dixon about his dreams and aspirations. Dixon told Perry that he was interested in acting and writing. Perry then told Dixon to do an audition over the phone and send it to Perry. Dixon told Perry he was at a Halloween party. Perry asked to see pictures of Dixon in costume. And hold on. Okay. Perry asked to see pictures of Dixon in costume, and Dixon complied. When Perry saw the pictures, he texted Dixon, "I was going to say your cowboy needs a sugar daddy." Oh, Lord. Did we see that? Did we see that? I don't think I saw that in the text, but if he has that, okay. I mean, I don't know if that's gonna get you $260 million, but you're getting a little bit closer because those other texts just. When Perry saw the pictures, he texted Dixon, "I was gonna say your cowboy needs a sugar daddy." Perry continued with, "You look great. You're just lacking costume parts. Sorry, don't want to offend." Dixon responded, "Not at all. It's so true. Half-ass costume." To which Perry replied, "What's true? Cowboy needs a sugar daddy?" Implying that Perry wanted to be Dixon's sugar daddy. Dixon quickly shut down those comments by reiterating what he said earlier, that the truth was that he was lacking costume parts. Oh. Shortly thereafter, Dixon's boss at Legendary Events called Dixon and told him that Tyler Perry was having another event in Los Angeles and specifically wanted Mr. Dixon to fly from Atlanta to Los Angeles to work on the event. Excited for the opportunity to fly to Los Angeles, Dixon was flattered and jumped on the opportunity to meet Tyler Perry again. Shortly after doing the event on November 3rd, 2019, defendant Perry sent plaintiff several text messages that he would love to find plaintiff a job and change the plaintiff's life, insisting that they should make it happen. Perry sent Dixon what turned out to be an anonymous warning: "Be careful hanging around me. I cause dreamers to dream bigger. I cause them to not only believe but do. Then let's make it happen. You're an artist. You have to be fulfilled. Nothing else will suffice." Now, okay, let me just continue, because is that nefarious? Depends on what happens, right? Because those very same words to me could be said in a motivational way, but it depends on intention, right? The very next day, defendant Perry sent an email which contained an offer for plaintiff to play the role of Dale in Perry's television series Ruthless. Perry said it was a small role that could get a lot bigger, thereby setting up the first stage in a series of escalating quid pro quo offers. At this point, Dixon did not know that Perry was interested in men or that he was looking for a sexual relationship. Dixon assumed that Tyler Perry was genuinely a caring person who discovered the talent that Dixon always felt he had. Dixon filmed his roles in Ruthless in mid November and went back to his job as an event staff for legendary events. Approximately 1 month later, Perry bought and gave Dixon a new car because because he hated Dixon's Jeep. Dixon was surprised and elated. Dixon had no idea that he was being set up by Perry for extreme dependence. Okay, now look, I call foul on this. If Tyler Perry bought you a new car because he hated your Jeep, you know what's up. Especially there's already been flirting going on between y'all. Dixon had no idea that he was being set up by Perry for extreme dependence. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. At all. Okay. In December of 2019, Dixon was requested to be part of the event staff at another event at Perry's home in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. After that event, Perry started frequently sending text messages, making phone calls, and demanding that Dixon give Perry some attention. On New Year's Eve 2019, Tyler Perry texted Dixon, quote, I can't tell you the last time I pumped gas or went to the supermarket or fly commercial or packed a bag or had good sex. It was before I was rich. Okay. Dixon found these messages to be strange. What did you like? Did you did you say, okay, I'm done? I don't want to talk to this no more. What happened next, Dixon? Dixon found these messages to be strange and untowardly coming from someone like Tyler Perry, but being new to the industry, Dixon played along by downplaying the sexual comments and hoping that being around Perry would allow him to showcase his talents as an actor and writer. Okay. Soon after Dixon began giving Perry more attention, Perry made his move on Dixon. In January of 2020, just a few months after his first acting gig, Perry invited plaintiff to his house in Douglasville County, Georgia. Plaintiff showed up to the home, hoping that he would be given a chance to befriend Perry and show him how talented an actor Dixon was. At Perry's home, Dixon was served many alcoholic drinks, which Perry also partook in. Dixon felt that Perry was genuinely interested in Dixon's talents as an actor and writer. Perry made no sexual advances at Dixon while they were drinking, and the conversation was friendly. At the end of the night, Perry told Dixon not to drive home. Perry said it was dangerous and that Dixon was too inebriated to drive home. Dixon agreed and was escorted to a separate guest room, not knowing that this was a ruse to allow Perry to assault Dixon. Dixon was tired and did not have pajamas, and so he got into bed only wearing underwear. Before he knew what was happening, Dixon felt someone else slip into bed behind him and start rubbing Dixon's body around his inner thigh in a highly sexual and suggestive manner. Dixon turned around and saw that Tyler Perry was in bed with him. At this point, Dixon's stomach started to turn and he began feeling nauseous. Instinctively, Dixon jumped out of bed and told Tyler Perry that he, quote, wasn't that sexual. Tyler Perry ignored the comments and told Dixon to turn around so Perry could see him naked in his underwear. Perry then commented on how beautiful Dixon's body was. Dixon once again told Perry that he was not into sex. Dixon kept informing Perry that he was not into sex in order to keep Perry at bay, while at the same time not insulting the person who was dangling his career in front of him. In response to Dixon's frequent assertions that Dixon was not into sex, Perry started prying further. Perry would send Dixon a text message saying, I would hope that you would let someone hold you and make love to you. You are missing the best years of your life, my friend. Trust me. I hope you get past that block in your mind soon. Perry was implying that Dixon would hopefully get past the block in his mind and would let Tyler Perry make love to him. Oh, Dixon's lawyers. Okay. And this is the text message to Tyler Perry. I would hope that, and this is Tyler Perry in the gray. I would hope that you would let someone hold you and make love to you. You are missing the best years of your life, my friend. Trust me. I hope you get past that block in your mind soon. Well, it's not this person, but yes, I want that too. I'm working on it. Therapy is helping, was the response from Dixon. Okay. So after that assault in January, Dixon felt betrayed. Perry continued to call or text Dixon every day, asking to talk to him more. Dixon ignored Perry, which led Perry to text him, Derek, why don't you text me more? The more Dixon ignored Perry, the more aggressive Perry became, until finally Perry offered Dixon a part in a new show called The Oval. Dixon was intrigued and was hoping that this would be the big break that he was looking for and a chance for him to display his acting talent. Okay, so after all of that, now okay. I'm gonna reserve. Let me reserve my commentary. On February 11th, 2020, Perry told Dixon to quit his job at Legendary Events and come work exclusively for Perry. Perry was not able to control Dixon so long as Dixon had a secondary income that was providing for his basic needs. Once Dixon quit his job due to his role on the Oval, Perry started getting more and more personal with Dixon, knowing that Dixon was now under his control. Perry would often say things like, I give and give and give, and no one ever does anything for me in return. No one ever gives me what I want or what I need, implying that Dixon was not giving him sex. Perry started asking Dixon about Dixon's sexual preferences and what role Dixon took on when engaging in sexual acts, whether he was a top or a bottom, which in sexual terms means whether Dixon preferred to give or receive anal sex. Oh, what would Medea say about this? Him. Okay. Perry further indicated to Dixon that he had sex with men before and that he was a top. Perry further told Dixon that when you okay, I got to remember I am reading this on YouTube, not Patreon, so I'm gonna have to be careful with some of these words. Perry further indicated to Dixon that he had sex with men before and that he was a top. Perry further told Dixon that when you have a big D and when you hit the G spot right on these bottoms, they go crazy. Perry further told Plainham that he wanted a man who was in a relationship with another individual, but with whom he could be emotionally involved and engage in sexual acts with, like a friend with benefits relationship, because Perry did not have time to deal with the emotional aspect of a relationship, only the physical. Despite these comments, Dixon knew that a full throated Okay, I'm not going to make that joke. Dixon knew that a full throated refusal would land him in the doghouse and might result in his role being cut on the Oval. Fearing that his career would end before it began, Dixon put up with these comments and continued to maintain that he was not the sexual type. On or around March of 2020, Dixon received the script for the Oval. He was written in as a season regular and was therefore expected to quit his job with legendary events. Dixon's character was written as a gay, homeless, and desperate store clerk who had to sleep with one of the other characters for a place to stay. More importantly, at the end of the season, his character would be shot 4 times in the chest. Dixon felt that this was a way for Perry to test Dixon out for a year and see if he would be loyal to Perry. When Dixon asked Perry about the shooting, Perry indicated that if Dixon did a quote, good job, unquote, Dixon would be back, and that a shooting did not necessarily mean that Dixon's character was out of the script for future seasons. Perry commented that Dixon's character was only shot in the chest and not in the head. Don't ask me why that's funny to me. Dixon immediately understood that his job security depended on his quote unquote relationship with Perry. From this point on, Dixon worked with the constant fear of losing his job if he did not engage with and endure Perry's sexual harassment. Shortly after giving Dixon this news and after telling Dixon that future seasons were dependent on Dixon doing a good job, Tyler Perry invited Dixon to his home in Atlanta. This number 85, do you have that in a text or something? This would be like pretending I'm talking to Dixon. Do you have this in a text? Because this the lawyer who wrote this complaint, and who knows, Dixon is a writer, so he may have written this too. It's a lot of I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of creativity and a lot of well, this meant that, but the person didn't necessarily say that. So I'll continue. Rein it in, Sandy. Rein it in. Okay. Plaintiff asked questions and tried to wiggle his way out of the invitation because he remembered what happened the last time the two were alone. However, plaintiff knew that his job security, income, and livelihood depended on his attendance. Plaintiff had seen other employees of Perry's who had experienced sudden deaths on the show when they fell on Perry's bad side. In fact, Perry had made it clear to Dixon that he would often kill characters in order to get an actor to be loyal or obedient. When Dixon arrived at the house, Tyler Perry gave Dixon a warm welcome and was very friendly. Soon after, Tyler Perry started asking Dixon a slew of sexually charged questions, even asking Dixon if Dixon liked it rough in bed. Perry then physically reached out and violently grabbed Dixon's throat, attempting to physically choke Dixon and remarked, "Wow, look how excited you just got. You do like that. Man, what in the diddy is going on here? What in the diddy is going on here?" Dixon was horrified, shocked, and in panic. Dixon never thought that Tyler Perry could get so violent and would place his hands on Dixon's throat in a sexually aggressive manner. Dixon did not enjoy or consent to any of this conduct. Dixon was in shock and took steps to immediately de-escalate the situation. Due to the onset of COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020, filming for the Oval was postponed indefinitely. During the period in which filming for the Oval was postponed, Tyler Perry would make FaceTime calls and other contacts to Dixon almost every day, treating Dixon as his on-call quote unquote pet. Dixon felt obligated to answer for fear of losing his role, income, and career. Perry often asked about Dixon about his whereabouts, often demanding that Dixon respond immediately. When he didn't, Perry would send text messages to Dixon stating, "Derek, girl, okay." "And what are you doing?" Additionally, Perry was jealous of anyone who Dixon had a relationship with. Tyler Perry told Dixon that if Dixon got COVID-19 from his roommate at the time, Dixon would not be able to shoot the Oval. Okay, well that was protocol because I remember watching a lot of people during that time who were actors who were talking about all the different tests and all the things they had to do to even be on set. More than normal. More it was a huge protocol for people acting at the time. Anyway, Perry encouraged Dixon to move into one of the on-set studio houses owned by Perry, where Perry would have more control over Dixon's whereabouts. Was that it, or was it because of the COVID stuff? Okay, anyway, thereafter, Perry would text plaintiff about other actors on his show, Ruthless. Perry told Dixon how he manipulated employees through ruthless retaliation. Perry told Dixon that if he did not like the way an actor behaved or the way the actor was acting, the character would simply die in season two. Dixon understood that Perry was informing Dixon understood that Perry was informing Dixon to be cautious about disappointing or upsetting Perry. As a result, Dixon continued to put up with Perry's suggestive messages and sexual advances while doing his best to protect himself by taking notes and amassing evidence of the sexual harassment and keeping old text messages. In one conversation in or around April of 2020, Perry told Dixon that Perry imagined Dixon prancing around in a cowboy outfit, and that Perry did things to Dixon and that he could not talk with Dixon about any further because they were so wrong. What? What? In or around April of 2020, and while Dixon was living in the studio homes on set, Perry often coerced Dixon to drink alcohol and then get on the phone with Perry. Perry would frequently have someone drop off alcohol at Dixon's door. Perry would eventually turn these phone calls into sexually explicit rants. Perry would get frustrated with Dixon and tell Dixon that he was not giving Perry what he needs. Dixon's refusal to succumb to Perry's sexual advances caused Perry to be ever more frustrated. Eventually, Perry warned Dixon that if Dixon told his castmates about the harassment, Dixon would be opening himself up to lots of questions and foolishness, and demanded that Dixon not discuss any of their conversations with his castmates. Now, of course, Tyler Perry did not say anything about harassment and how he worded that to Dixon. Perry upped the stakes by telling Dixon point blank that he was not to tell anyone about their friendship. Perry told Dixon that it should all remain a secret and tried to make it seem like the secret was for Dixon's benefit. Perry continued to sexually harass Dixon on June 27, 2020. Defendant Perry texted Dixon that all he wanted for his birthday were biscuits and BJs, referring to blowjobs, oral sex, but that all Perry ever received were biscuits, insinuating a request for oral sex from Dixon. This text was followed by other messages calling Dixon cute, cutie, and that Perry was just thinking about Dixon. Boy, I tell you. Let's scroll back up and read this text message right quick. Okay, remember Tyler Perry is in the gray. Listen to me. If you let the cast know that you and I have a new friendship, then you are opening yourself up to a lot of questions, not and foolishness. You want them to know that you are there because of your talent and not because we have a friendship or because Tony got me to give you a job. You earned your spot like everyone else. Don't give people an opportunity to play you small or they will. I can't teach you everything. Unfortunately, there are some things you'll have to learn for yourself. Because when we go back to work, I'm not going to know you. I don't have any friends that work for me, my friend. Professionalism is key. Dixon said, "You're totally right. I hope you got it, my friend. That makes total sense. Just watch the behavior of everyone around me on set. Yeah, I will. Don't want to give anyone that opportunity because work is work." Now, that conversation to me, how it comes across in the text and versus how the lawyer or Dixon, who is a writer, how they're phrasing it in the complaint, to me is like totally different. But anyway, let's continue. Okay, that's cute, cute. Despite these advances, Dixon continued to act professionally and continued to tell Perry he was not sexual. That seemed to be the only way of keeping Perry at bay while keeping his job. In July of 2020, Perry remarked about how much he loved the script of Dixon's television series called Losing It and exclaimed that he wanted to shoot the pilot for it. Perry would never really work toward that goal. And what Perry was really doing was making Mr. Dixon more dependent on Perry so that Perry could later extract sexual favors from Dixon as a quid pro quo to produce the pilot. In or around August 2020, Dixon and his castmates began shooting for the Oval after delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic. During which time all castmates and crew lived on the studio set in a quarantine bubble. See, that's what I was saying when he said that earlier about he encouraged them to live on the studio lot in one of the houses. Yeah, it was a COVID-19 protocols. Okay. That's what I thought. Shortly after Perry confided in Dixon that two cast members were pissing him off, and that Perry swore that he knew, quote, how to fix this shit. Perry added that he loves killing a motherfucker in a show that no one expects, that he was going to shoot them all shot and kill them mofos characters, referring to killing off characters in the Oval played by actors who Perry wanted to retaliate against. More importantly, Perry stated in one text message, I may need to shoot the shoot out early, which Dixon understood to mean that unless the actors knew they were going to die and that their time on the show was over, they would not change their ways. Perry was going to film the shootout early so that the actors would be more submissive to Perry's request. And you know what? This is where it's kind of like you have to be careful who you talk to. Because even if that is his strategy and his plan as far as how to get these actors to do whatever he wanted them to do or to behave, as he said, to me, it's almost like something where, and Tyler Perry should have been more careful. It's almost like this is the type of conversation you have with like somebody who you know won't betray you, because that could be somebody saying anything about any job or anything they're trying to manage these people. And I know how to get these people in check. This is what I'll do. So it's like, I don't know. It just feels like that was his strategy. We don't know what was going on that set. We don't know anything about any of that. But it just feels like he told this to somebody where he never anticipated it going any place further. And maybe that was one of many mistakes if we believe what's in this complaint. Okay, so let's go scroll back up just a little bit to see this text message. So here's Tyler in the gray. But I swear to you, I know how to fix this shit. I love killing a motherfucker in a show that no one expects. You could be sipping Mai Tais, counting coconuts right now. Think about the last episode. They are all shot. All. We don't know who lives. Exactly. I'm scared. They should be too. Nope, they're not. Last I checked, we all got the same bullets in us. Okay. So he understands. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going because I don't really think that's much to do. Let's see. The text message, they are stupid to think that. So stupid. I'm gonna have a come to Jesus moment with them. I think I'm going to shoot them all. I'm going to shoot them all get shot. That'll do it. They'll be fine. They'll be like, wait, I may need to shoot the shootout early, like Tuesday, or maybe okay that what, or maybe okay that Beyonce song on the loudspeaker for everyone. I was just about to text you this. Okay. Perry intentionally made these comments to instill fear in Dixon. Mr. Dixon now knew that he too would lose his job if Dixon did not play ball with Perry's sexual harassment. This is what Perry had been setting up. Dixon was now fully reliant on Perry for his income, hope, and future aspirations. Perry made it clear that Dixon was not to disclose the relationship to anyone else, and Dixon was aware that Tyler Perry would kill. See, I already can see what Tyler Perry's attorneys are going to do with that, because he didn't say anything about a relationship. He said something about a friendship. And right now, I'm still waiting to see the $260 million worth of something. Okay. Because the writer of this complaint, they are implying what certain things meant, but I, they're not like, I don't see that in these text messages. And I don't, maybe he has call recordings or something like that that will push this over the edge. But right now, it's just not the narrative. The way they wrote it is very damning. But what they have, what they're including in here by way of proof or saying what proof they have, it's not, it's not doing it to me. Okay. So let's see. Perry had been setting up. Dixon was now fully relying on Perry for his income, hope, and future aspirations. Perry made it clear that Dixon was not to disclose the relationship to anyone else, and Dixon was aware that Tyler Perry would kill him off the show for good, thereby ending his career. How would it be ending your career? Can't you go on other gigs? Shows could end anytime if Dixon got on Perry's bad side. To top it all off, Dixon already knew that his character was shot 4 times at the end of the season, but the shots might not be fatal. In July of 2020, Perry read the script of Dixon's pilot and told Dixon that he loved the show so much he wanted to shoot the pilot for it. Dixon did not know that Perry never intended on shooting the show. Perry knew that he could use the motivation of shooting Mr. Dixon's show to get Dixon to do what Dixon had been resisting for many months, which was to give Perry the sexual gratification Perry so craved. Once the stage was set, Perry knew he could get away with sexual harassment during the filming of The Oval in 2020. Perry engaged in a severe and pervasive tirade of sexual commentary, including but not limited to that Dixon liked being choked, following Dixon's being choked by a cast member in one scene on The Oval. Why do you twist your hips when you walk? How can I get a day of Dixon? When will you be thick again? I love how I feel right now, but I don't like being horny. I feel sorry for the first person who flirts with me. I've been trying to put that energy somewhere else, but everything is sexual on this stuff. That snake across the table made me think of a photo of Nicki Minaj from the music video for her song Anaconda, in which she references intercourse with a male genitalia symbolized by a snake. I will gladly must have been choked. I would gladly choke you right now, referring to Perry's desire to choke Dixon in a sexual way. A suggestion that Dixon should get braces behind his teeth, but that plaintiff would have to give up BJ's, and that could be dangerous for Dixon's partner, especially if they're not circumcised. That's when you were thick Derek, fun Derek, drunk Derek, before COVID Derek. I miss him, just without a butt. And thick Derek would have worked them pants out. Perry also photographed Dixon's buttocks while on set and sending the pictures to Dixon. Two text messages of many show that Perry was jealous of seeing Dixon with other men, and that Perry describes Dixon as so beautiful. Why did that photo make me jealous? You two together. Ha ha ha. I didn't know. It's just Brad. He just wanted to go for a quick walk to get his steps in. Wasn't that presented earlier? I think it was. Let's see, in your mind soon. Well, it's not that person, but yes, I want that too. I'm working on it. Therapy is helping. No, no, okay, we did read that earlier in this complaint. I feel sorry for the person that you choose, and I won't even take an aspirin from someone anymore. Ha ha ha. I would cry if that wasn't so funny. Why? What I mean by that is that you're so beautiful. When you finally are able to unlock your mind, you're going to make that person crazy. Okay. This series of comments and other unwanted sexual references made Dixon highly uncomfortable. Dixon was caught in a bind. He could not complain to anyone in HR. He had nowhere to turn for relief from the sexual harassment, and he knew that if he did not endure it, he would be killed off from the Oval. Dixon was unsure whether to joke back or rebuff Perry's sexual harassment, so he endured it, knowing that his job was on the line if he did not engage. Perry would also share intimate details of his own sex life with Dixon. Among other things, Perry would tell Dixon that he had not had good sex since he became rich, and that there were certain times where he had not been touched in months. On the second to last day of shooting for the Oval, Dixon filmed the episode where his character was shot 4 times, indicating a seeming end to his role on the show and his termination from the job. It was precisely following this day of filming when Tyler Perry knew that Dixon's character's fate was to be decided that Perry invited Dixon to his trailer for drinks. Dixon knew that refusing meant the end of his career, so he accepted. It was there on the very same day that Perry dialed up the harassment to a new level. Tyler Perry asked Derek Dixon point blank, "Are you attracted to me?" So many thoughts. So many thoughts. Are you attracted to me? And demanded that Dixon answer. Plaintiff reiterated the same way he did after the first assault by skirting the question. Dixon told Perry that Dixon, quote, wasn't that sexual or looking for anything. Perry's incessant probing did not stop. Perry continued to talk about how good looking and sexy Dixon was, and that the plaintiff was wasting his looks by not being free and having sex. Okay, let's go back up and see what this text message said to Tyler Perry. Right. And we just had a heaping dose of it, and now it's back to nothing. It's really weird. I didn't have any contact. What are you talking about? I haven't been touched in months. Oh, you mean touching? I thought you meant being around people. Jacob, I love that you only say that when I'm being stupid. I guess the Jacob's dumbass version of me. Not dumbass, but blind. Okay, guess that's an inside joke. All right. Uh let's see, we were at 118. Dixon repeatedly deflected these comments with neutral answers, constantly looking for ways to avoid Tyler Perry's sexual interrogation, while continuing to worry about his future on the Oval. Mr. Perry was testing how far he could go with Dixon. After enduring harassment and doing his best to dodge the situation, Mr. Dixon got up and the two exchanged goodbyes. As Dixon was leaving Perry's trailer, Perry got up and pinned Dixon against the wall. Perry began aggressively groping Dixon's buttocks in a sexual motion. Tyler Perry began reaching down towards Dixon's buttocks and groped Dixon's butt let's see, in a strong and sexual manner that could not have been a mere accident. Dixon stood frozen in horror and could not reciprocate or fight back. All Dixon could do was let his body go cold and limp. Seeing that Dixon had no desire in Perry, Perry told Dixon that he was drunk and asked Dixon to leave the trailer. As soon as Derek Dixon left the trailer, following Perry's violent assault, Dixon became severely nauseous and extremely anxious about his job, career, and livelihood. Dixon felt trapped within the confines of the studio's quarantine bubble. There was still another shoot the next day. Dixon called his friend Justin Bryant on the phone and told him everything that happened and was unaware of any human resources representatives to whom he could report the assault. Plaintiff had no one to turn to and nowhere to go to save him from Perry's aggressive sexual harassment and exploitation. The next day, Perry acted like nothing happened, and this time he did not even offer Mr. Dixon an apology. Following this exchange, Dixon began to avoid Perry as much as possible. However, Dixon still felt the need to answer Perry's incessant text messages, so he changed his approach. Dixon often pretended to be asleep to avoid being harassed by Perry. However, Perry persisted by texting Dixon the following questions: Are you awake? Stop ignoring me. You are awake, Derek. Wake up. I know you're not sleeping, and give me attention. This is a lot here. This is a lot here. What is this? Okay. In or around early October 2020, Perry invited Dixon and other actors from the Oval on a cast trip to Perry's personal island in the Bahamas. Dixon knew, as did everyone else on the show, that declining to go on this trip might cause Perry to erase you from the show. Dixon agreed to go, knowing that the whole cast was going to be there. One night, while in Perry's private island, one night while I think they worded that wrong. One night while on Perry's private island in the Bahamas, the cast was having a party. At the end of the night, Perry told Dixon that he wanted to talk to him. Dixon was caught off guard. Perry made alcoholic drinks and forced Dixon to drink with him. Dixon knew that he could not refuse the drinks, otherwise, he would risk upsetting Mr. Perry. Instead, Dixon tried to stay in control and sip drinks slowly. Tyler Perry did not control himself. He drank until it was clear that the alcohol had made him bold and sexually aggressive. Perry told Dixon that he wanted a relationship with someone who could be emotionally and sexually available to him, but would also be permissive of Perry having his own relationship with someone else. Perry said he could see himself having that type of relationship with Dixon. Perry insisted that Dixon needed to be with someone rich because Dixon liked nice things. Perry told Dixon that he was watching all the cast as they laid out in the sun with tanning oil. Perry continued raving about how seeing Dixon greased up like that was driving him crazy. Tyler Perry said he would have burnt the whole island down if one of the other actors or anyone else from the group had touched Dixon that night. At that point, he once again aggressively seized Dixon and groped his buttocks. Dixon once again did not reciprocate and froze up. Perry got the message and told Dixon to go to bed. Dixon was terrified and could barely sleep. So let's see what's in this text message here. Nice picture. Yeah, the water does look calm. Nice picture. Great, amazing, awesome picture. You don't see that stud in that nice picture? Rude. LOL. Yes, that's a stud. Then he said asshole. Okay, again, I see flirting. I see flirting. I see a lot of flirting. I still don't know if I see $260 million worth of anything. Okay. Let's keep going. Uh okay. 127. From that moment on, Perry became extremely frustrated and possessive. Perry wanted desperately for Dixon to be attracted to him, but Dixon was not. In one exchange, Perry sent pictures of himself from the Bahamas to Dixon. Dixon responded that the water looked nice. Perry got upset that Dixon did not see the stud in the picture and instead focused on the water. Now, see, when I read those text messages, that did not come across to me as Tyler Perry being upset. And that's what I mean when I'm reading this whole thing, is that the writer, be it Dixon or Dixon and his lawyer, they are adding a lot on to like certain things, even these text messages, to make them seem like something that to me it does not come across that way in the text messages. So that makes me question everything you're saying. And right now, I still feel the way I felt when I first started this live. Okay, let's go. Let's see. He said Perry got upset. Did y'all see upset in this text exchange? I did not. Perry got upset that Dixon did not see the stud in the picture and instead focused on the water. Perry called Dixon an asshole for laughing out loud at Perry's desire for Dixon to call him a stud. That is a total mischaracterization to me. On or around October 18th, 2020, and following Dixon's return from the Bahamas, Perry told Dixon that he was jealous that Dixon was giving too much attention to other men. Perry stated that Dixon was being too much of a social butterfly and that he would need Dixon to sit still this week. further attempting to exercise his influence over Dixon's interaction with other men. Perry continued to wield his position as Dixon's boss, demanding sexual attention in exchange for his continued employment. These text messages were followed by others to Dixon like Derek, don't you dare ignore me. I deserve better. I deserve attention all the time. Dixon, out of fear for the unknown future of his career, continued to give Perry the social attention he demanded, even though Dixon would constantly get sexually harassed. Okay. On several occasions, Perry would text Dixon while drunk. In one exchange, Perry told Dixon, "You know what I cook, Derek?" And then proceeds to say, "I'm so drunk, talking shit." In December 2020, Dixon began feeling depleted due to Perry's continued pattern of sexual harassment. The assaults and harassment began manifesting in his physical health, and Mr. Dixon had no one to turn to. Dixon visited a physician who indicated that Dixon exhibited severe symptoms of acute stress, insomnia, stomach issues, and dangerously low cortisol levels due to the sexual harassment and assault. The physician prescribed Zoloft, an antidepressant for Dixon's ailments. Okay, let's see what this text message said before we move on. You know what I cooked, Derek? He said spaghetti, cake, and Tyler Perry said, "You. I'm so drunk, talking shit." Okay, no big whoop there to me. All right, the sexual harassment continued through the beginning of 2021. Perry continued sending Dixon unsolicited photos of Dixon's body from the set of The Oval with comments such as, "Oh my God, look at thick, Derek, thick. No, the weight difference, I can do see it. Thick Derek, okay, good. Nope, I can't deal with thick Derek. LOL. What's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? Have you found that yet in therapy? What's your waist? I'm so glad thick Derek is back, is with us. Break out in ass and thighs. You home? I don't want you out with your friends drinking. You are the rose, but you are so blocked that you refuse to be smelt or opened. What? What in the did it? What? When you finally are able to unlock your mind, you're going to make that person crazy, crazy in a good way. Have you been intimate with someone? Okay, okay. Let's see what this text message says. This is Dixon in the blue. I know I need to smell the roses more. You are the rose, but you are so blocked that you refuse to be smelt or open. That is sweet. And I'm working on it. Hashtag therapy. I'm really scared that I'm going to waste my life worrying. Been there, stopped somewhere in my late 30s, early 40s. Okay, that again to me is another text message that does not sound as nefarious as it's being described in this lawsuit. Okay. Thick Derek, get that Chipotle. No, I can't. Only from your genes. What? Derek is there to make men swoon. What I mean by that is that you're so beautiful. When you finally are able to unlock your mind, you're going to make that person crazy, crazy in a good way. Dixon responded, as long as my face doesn't get messed up, as long as it doesn't leave a mark. And Tyler Perry responded, what will leave a mark, Derek? Say it. On your neck? What do you mean you haven't? Have you been intimate with someone? I can't wait. I can't wait. Get that phone call from you when you tell me you let go and you loved every minute of it. Referring to plaintiff's desire to openly engage in sexual encounters. No straight man would be going on walks with you or cooking dinner for you unless they wanted to fuck you. I would fuck you. What? What? Hold on. Tyler, what is this? Okay, what God dang it. Let me see. Let me go back up and see what number we're on. We're on 133 within this document. And I can't wait. Okay, let's get back to that comment. Okay. 133Q. Now, do they have that? Do they have that in text? No straight man would be going on walks with you or cooking dinner for you, unless they wanted to F you. I would F you. What are you doing hanging out with that girlfriend of yours? She wants you too. Everyone wants to F Jacob, referring to Dix's character in the pilot of Losing It. After several weeks of unreciprocated sexual innuendos and demands for attention, Perry lashed out at Dixon on the set and asked if he needed to punch Dixon in the stomach for Dixon to act the way Perry envisioned the scene. This exchange was highly tense, and Perry's reaction stunned several cast members. Actors on set consoled Dixon for the abrasive interaction, confused as to why Perry overreacted in such a manner. But Dixon knew that Perry was lashing out due to his frustration at the lack of attention Dixon was giving him. So now he's saying if he wasn't acting correctly in a scene and Tyler Perry got upset as far as him not getting the acting right, then he felt like it was all because he was upset because he wouldn't like get with him. Okay. Maybe. During this visit, Perry made several alcoholic beverages for himself and demanded to know why Dixon was not having sex with anyone. Perry probed further about Dixon's sex life, insisting that the two were becoming increasingly drunk and it was time to end the night. Perry then led Dixon to a guest house where a guest bedroom was. Dixon would be staying there that night. Inside the guest bedroom, Perry motioned to Dixon to come see a weight monitor that he had. Perry told Dixon that for the monitor to work, Dixon would need to step on the monitor wearing only his underwear and pushed Dixon to try it out. Dixon tried to avoid the uncomfortable situation, but decided it was better to comply and hurry to bed than to wait for the alternative at that point. Okay? Better to comply. After weighing himself, Dixon walked toward the guest bedroom, followed by Perry, who then asked Dixon for a good night hug. Rather than arguing, Dixon complied, at which point Perry reached out and yanked Dixon's underwear down from behind. Perry then began to vigorously grab and grope and play with Dixon's buttocks in a sexual manner. Dixon was naked, stunned, and seized by tremendous fear. Dixon started to tell Perry that he did not want his underwear down, that Dixon didn't want to be naked, and that Dixon didn't want this. Dixon quickly reached out to pull his underwear back up. As soon as he did, Perry grabbed Dixon's reaching arm with a tight grip and held fast. Tyler Perry told Dixon to relax and to just let it happen, and that Perry wasn't going to get hurt, that Perry wasn't going to hurt Dixon. Perry continued to sexually grope Dixon's buttocks. Dixon's anxiety rapidly escalated, thinking that he might soon be AR'd. Dixon was not sure what to do, and his breath shortened. Perry ignored Dixon's refusals and held Dixon's hand fast, preventing him from reaching for his underwear. Dixon was naked and being groped by a large, drunk, and sexually frustrated 6'5" man who had Dixon in his clutches. Okay, y'all, with the description right now. Dixon did not know if he was going to have to get into a physical fight, but he knew that any efforts to fight back were hopeless. Perry had armed security at his gate, was much larger than Dixon, and told Dixon that he had several guns in his home. Oh boy, I tell you the ditty of it all. Dixon was desperate for a way out and remarked that he couldn't do anything sexual because he was so hungry, attempting to change the conversation. This Dixon asked, "Is there any food up here?" which prompted Perry to withdraw and order a pizza. Dixon, in fear of his safety, followed Perry into the main house to eat the pizza. Afterwards, Dixon returned to the guest house and, unable to lock the bedroom door, locked himself in the guest house bathroom and slept on the floor. Dixon then attempted to contact some close friends about the incident. The following morning, Dixon realized that he had left his car keys in the main house, and upon going to retrieve them, encountered Perry. Perry told Dixon that last night's incident was why the two should not drink together and that the previous night's incident should not have happened. Dixon responded saying, "Oh, so that was my fault?" To which Perry replied, "No, no, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that should not have happened and I drank too much." Attempting to excuse himself for grabbing Dixon's buttocks, groping Dixon, and attempting to have sex with Dixon against his will. At this point, Dixon left Perry's home uncontrollably shaking and contacted his close friends to discuss the unspeakable horror from the night before. So I feel like Dixon in this moment is intentionally calling people so that he would, because he knew what he was going after, so that he could say yes. And in real time, when this happened, I called my friend and I told them that this and that and this and that, because that would make what he is alleging more credible. Okay, let me continue. For the next several days until June 6, 2021, Perry texted and called Dixon incessantly with messaging asking Dixon to call him or answer his calls. Finally, Dixon answered, at which point Perry began to apologize, blaming the testosterone supplements he was taking at the time. Perry had confided in Dixon about these supplements in past messages and decided to use them as a scapegoat for his actions. Dixon emphasized that he was, quote, not okay with what happened and that he had never asked for anything, to which Perry replied, "I know, that's why I like you." Excuse me. Perry further attempted to rectify his misconduct by inviting Dixon on a yacht trip and telling Dixon that Perry was for sure going to make Dixon's pilot. Dixon realized that Perry was offering to make losing it to effectively silence Dixon. Perry sent a text message trying to arrange for Dixon to come on his yacht with another person so that Dixon would feel more comfortable. Dixon responded that he would not board the yacht and refused Perry's invitation. After Dixon refused to go on the yacht, Perry did not text Dixon for 5 months, sensing that Dixon was upset. Perry called Dixon once to update him that Perry was looking for a director for the pilot. During this 5 month period, Dixon was regularly in therapy. He suffered from severe depression, anxiety, stomach pains, and nausea, resulting in a new prescription for another antidepressant. Dixon was diagnosed with PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, and his therapist recommended that he seek outpatient treatment, costing upwards of $20,000, a price too high for Dixon at the time. Now let's go back up and see what these text messages said. What? Okay. How do they make money then? Subscriptions. They make money from the advertising, lots of money. I love how I feel right now, but I don't like being horny. Testosterone. Oh yeah, from the doctor, but it is making you feel better. I feel so good, but I don't like being horny. I feel sorry for the first person that flirts with me. LOL, LOL. You don't even understand. Tried you. Call me. Hey, I think the hangover hit me harder than I thought. Can we talk later? Again, it's Dixon in the blue. Yes, it was quick, but okay. I really need to talk to you, my friend. Please call as soon as you can. Trying to do rooms on the boat. If I invite Bill, would you be okay sharing a room with him or not? Excuse me. Hey, I appreciate the invite, but I think I need some more time and don't think I can go in a on go on a trip just okay. Again, I don't see what he's trying to imply in this lawsuit. I'm far enough in now, 28 pages in. But right now, I'm just feeling like this. I am really feeling like this is a money grab. I really am feeling like this is a money grab. But let me continue. Dixon was diagnosed with PTSD, is where we left off, and that his therapist recommended he seek outpatient treatment. During that time, Dixon began speaking with people about the sexual assault and was assessing his rights. As soon as Perry realized that Dixon was done talking to him, Dixon got a message from Perry's fixers. Perry's fixers contacted Dixon, indicating Dixon's character in the Oval, the one who was shot, would be returning with a new storyline next season, and Dixon was receiving a graduated raise from 10,000 per episode to 16,000 per episode that will continue to increase to upwards of 19,000 per episode over the coming seasons. The attorney said that Christmas came early for Dixon because he was doing a good job on the Oval. However, they also told Dixon he was forbidden from letting his castmates know about the raise because nobody other than him would be receiving a similar pay increase. Lastly, the fixers told Dixon that Perry wanted to buy the right to produce the pilot of Losing It and planned to spend up to $1 million producing the pilot. Dixon immediately knew why he was getting this raise and why the pilot was being produced. He knew he could keep the money in the job or complain about the sexual harassment, but not both. The situation facing Dixon presented a challenging decision that left him unable to take any action or make any decision. The prospect of the sexual assault and harassment becoming public and dealing with Perry's highly paid attorneys was daunting. Perry had significant resources, whereas Dixon did not. Dixon's goals of working as an actor and being discovered for his talents might be jeopardized. And what was an extremely difficult decision, Dixon bowed to the pressure and fear of losing his livelihood, and in hopes of advancing his career, Dixon decided to return to the set and have his pilot produced. He insisted, however, and decided to put safeguards in place between himself and Perry. In or around November 2021, Dixon returned to shoot the Oval. It was then when he saw Perry for the first time in person since the June 2021 sexual assault. Dixon suffered a panic attack in his trailer, prompting another actor to calm Dixon down. Seeing that Dixon was still upset, Perry knew that he had to up the ante to ensure Dixon's silence. Perry began periodically texting plaintiff regarding the production of the pilot of Losing It to string Dixon along. Soon after, Dixon received a call from a member of Perry's production team telling him that they were considering shooting Dixon's pilot in the coming fall of 2021. Dixon was desperate for this good news, given the uncertainty surrounding his finances and concern about his future. On or around March 4th, 2022, Dixon signed a literary purchase agreement for the pilot, giving the rights for the series to defendant TPS. Dixon was unaware of TPS's pre-existing television contracts with Viacom, now known as Paramount Global, which would later prevent the sale of Dixon's show to any media outlets or streaming services for 2 years. On or around March 21st, 2022, shortly after seeing each other on the set of The Oval, Dixon and Perry began shooting the pilot. Perry called Dixon following the shoot, telling him that the show would net $2 to $3 million per episode and run for 2 seasons guaranteed. Perry purchased the rights to Losing It from Dixon, but did not try to sell it to any network. In fact, Perry was under contract with Viacom CBS, preventing him from selling Dixon's show for an additional 2 years following the purchase. In other words, Perry spent money shooting a pilot for a show and then purchasing the rights to it, knowing that Perry could not sell the show for 2 years. Clearly, this was done for the ulterior motive of silencing Mr. Dixon. As it turns out, Perry had no intention of ever producing Losing It. Perry never made any effort to sell the show or shop it. Perry was only using the show as a quid pro quo to Dixon, holding its production over Dixon's head like the sword of... Oh boy. On or around April 9th, 2022, to his surprise, the plaintiff received the script for another season of The Oval, in which the plaintiff's character, originally written as a grocery store clerk, would play a male prostitute being pursued by a pimp. Well, that's on brand for Tyler Perry's movies and TV shows, isn't it? There's always a pimp, ain't it? Okay, but anyway, this character scenes and stories shared eerie similarities to Perry's pursuit of Dixon. While it was surprising that one of Perry's characters would end up this way, how could that be surprising? If you must not watch Tyler Perry's stuff, there's nothing surprising about any of Tyler Perry's work having a pimp in it. Nothing surprising about that at all. Pursuing somebody, threats, assault, trauma, none of that is unusual. Okay. While it was not surprising that one, okay, well, they said not. Okay, my bad. While it was not surprising that one of Perry's characters would end up this way, the timing of change to Dixon was a very clear message. As Dixon continued to read through his scripts, he started to notice that Perry included lines taken directly from things that Perry and Dixon spoke about. Perry started to base the script on real life and made it personal. For example, Perry wrote about Dixon that, quote, I don't like none of my bitches running away. He was making good money for me. In or around April 2022, before beginning to shoot the next season of The Oval, Perry called Dixon to discuss the June 2021 sexual assault. On the phone call, Perry lectured Dixon about how Dixon was overreacting to the sexual assault because of prior sexual assaults in Dixon's life. Perry said that there was a misunderstanding and miscommunication and that Dixon, quote, needed to say no stronger. In other words, Perry blamed Dixon for the sexual assault, claiming that Perry felt that Dixon's no was really a yes because Dixon did not say no strongly enough. So as not to jeopardize his employment with defendants Perry and TPS, Dixon dismissed the conversation, especially due to the allegedly impending sale of his show to a major broadcasting company. So many thoughts. Okay, this is too blurry for me to even attempt to read this text message over here to the side. Let's continue. On or around October 28th, 2022, after filming a full season of The Oval, Perry told Dixon that despite shooting the pilot, it could take a while to place, and that Perry could not do any other television series until his deal was up with Viacom, which would take about 2 years. In or around January of 2023, plaintiff indicated that he was moving to Santa Monica. He did so to put some distance between himself and Perry. Tyler Perry replied that he was glad to hear that Dixon was moving away and asked if Dixon's no was stronger before he left. Perry reiterated that Dixon should have a strong no and make it clear. Okay, these text messages that are blurry on this page now, we have read them earlier and going through this document. It was higher up in this complaint where Dixon is saying his mama scared that he gonna join the Illuminati. And I was like, well, why would your mama be concerned about that? Is she concerned that you would do anything to be famous? But the conversation was Tyler Perry just telling him that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that there's some wild things that goes on, I guess, in the entertainment world, Hollywood, but you just need to say no and you need to say it with your chest. That's what the text messages in essence said. Now they're giving it a different tone in how they wrote this complaint, but that's what was in those text messages. Okay, when he said no. Okay, then this was Perry's way of once again referring to his June 2021 sexual assault of Dixon and making it clear that Perry felt no remorse for assaulting Dixon against Dixon's will. Dixon remained calm, considering these triggering comments because he needed Perry to help him with his dreams of producing a show, and because Dixon was still a regular actor on The Oval. Even after Dixon moved to California, the quid pro quo harassment and attempts to cover up the sexual assault by promising a show continued. Perry would call Dixon, who felt obligated to pick up Perry's phone calls and respond to text messages. These conversations would often start about work and the men's business relationship, and then transition to further conversations about Dixon's sex life, adding to Dixon's trauma and forcing him to relive the sexual assault. Perry continued to envelop Dixon in this feeling of reliance and justify the sexual assault that happened. Perry would call Dixon and say, quote, "You'll understand when you have a hit show." And in the same breath, refer to the sexual assault by saying, "I'm so glad we're past that." Dixon knew that he had to just hold his tongue because Perry was still employing Dixon. On or around October 2023, Tyler Perry finally contacted Dixon, indicating that he was going to be finished with his Paramount Global contract in January 2024 and that he would be able to start working on selling Losing It. Perry was just hoping that the statute of limitations would run on Dixon's sexual assault claims before closing the door on Dixon's hope and on the quid pro quo that Perry offered for Dixon's silence. In the same conversation where they are talking about Perry starting to do things with Losing It, Tyler Perry also asked Dixon who he was having sex with. Perry further pushed for details, asking Dixon if he was the giver or the receiver in this scenario, or if plaintiff used protection and prep when engaging in sexual acts. Perry continued to probe other intimate details about Dixon's sex life. And to that, I also say, do you all have that in a recording or someplace where we could see if that happened? Perry again told Dixon that Perry wants a partner with whom he could have an emotional and sexual relationship, but who goes back to their partner at the end of the day. In December 2023, oh, here they go mentioning Christian Keys. Okay, in December 2023, Christian Keys, another actor who worked for Perry prior to Dixon's employment, posted a video on social media platforms detailing his abusive experience with an anonymous Black Hollywood billionaire, which Dixon pieced together and believes to be Tyler Perry. Dixon heard Mr. Keys' account and saw that Perry had been engaging in the same sexual conduct as other actors. Just like the interactions described by Keys, Perry would get drunk, climb into Dixon's bed, and start fondling Dixon's buttocks. Dixon wanted to share his experiences with the media to prevent other actors from being abused at the hands of Perry. Around this time, Perry called Dixon, indicating that he really wanted to find a home for Dixon's television series, again perpetuating the quid pro quo after the sexual assault to keep Dixon and his claims at bay. Then, in January 2024, Perry told Dixon to begin working on a pitch deck for investors for the pilot. Despite having 8 episodes written, Perry only produced one, claiming that the president of his company, Michelle Sneed, conveniently misplaced the $1 million that were going to be used for the show. During this time, Perry further solicited Dixon's assistance with other films and projects that Tyler Perry was working on. Once again, Dixon was in a position where he could not say no. Okay. Let's see what these text messages are saying over here. Tyler, okay, Dixon is in, let's see, I could call you later tomorrow sometime. You have a really fresh voice and take on things. I don't know where this is going, but okay, keep in mind, Tyler Perry is in the gray. You have a really fresh voice and take on things. I don't know where this is going, but I laughed the entire time. I could see the world and the characters. My exclusivity ends in 30 days. I want to take Losing It out to Amazon and Netflix after that and gauge their interest. But I also want to try and get you with the right people to help you make these shows work. They are not for my audience, but we need to find a home for this stuff. I don't want to miss another Shit's Creek. You know that Eugene bought that to me first, but I didn't get it. And Shit's Creek was so good. And I'm actually glad that Tyler Perry did not get his hands on Shit's Creek because he would have messed that show up. If he started trying to write on it or whatever, he would have messed it up. That was a great show. Let me continue. Amon gets here tomorrow, so he's got my full attention. I'll be trapped until the day after Christmas, so let's talk then. I think that's his son. Wow, wow. I was worried you'd even like it because it's a weird concept, so thank you. Okay. So I didn't see anything nefarious in how I read the text message or what's written there. But like I said, how they're writing this complaint in their description of the text messages, when you read the text messages, it's like, okay, but then they'll describe it in this big, nefarious, dark way, and it's not aligning. It's just not aligning, and that makes me even more suspicious of the whole thing. Let's continue. Let's see. In or around March of 2024, Tyler Perry indicated to Derek Dixon that the individual who was meant to pitch the pilot became depressed and could no longer pitch the show. This was another excuse for the fact that Perry never liked the show and never intended to sell it. Dixon did not get angry. Now, if that's true or if that's not true, Tyler Perry should be able to easily prove that, because there would have been meetings set up and other people who he had been talking with. So he should be able to easily prove if what he just said about Tyler Perry never intended to do anything with the Losing It show. Tyler Perry should be able to easily prove if that's not true, if he did all the things he said he was doing. Dixon did not get angry and allowed Perry more time to figure things out for the show. Mistakenly sensing that Dixon had forgiven him, Perry started back up with the harassment. Perry continued to harass Dixon, who was still working on the Oval and who was still waiting eagerly for Perry to sell Losing It. Perry would tell Dixon that he loved Dixon, that Dixon should be living his life, and that Dixon should be having sex more. Perry even indicated that he would send Dixon's show to Peter Friedlander at Netflix, but all this was just an attempt to remind Dixon of the sword of Damocles hanging over his neck. Later, Perry told Dixon that Netflix turned the show down. Dixon was never contacted by any individuals from Netflix regarding the show, and no sale ever materialized. Like I said again, if Tyler actually did reach out to Netflix about this show and it was officially turned down, he will be able to counter this assumption that it was all a ruse in order for him to kind of stay connected to Dixon or get out of him what he wanted. Okay, so in or around June of 2024, Perry, sensing that Dixon was getting frustrated about his show not getting off the ground and still concerned about the sexual assault being made public, offered Dixon a position as a writer on Perry's shows. Well, I didn't know Tyler Perry had writers. I did not know he had writers. Okay, anyway, indicating that he needed a replacement to continue writing. It was only then that Dixon woke up and realized that Perry was never going to be serious about helping Dixon. Perry was only going to do things for Dixon if Dixon played along with the sexual harassment and assault. Perry was only interested in preventing Dixon from exposing the dark side of Tyler Perry. Perry only cared that people still view him as the victim he once was, even now as he took shape as the victimizer. Dixon became sick to his stomach. And Dixon, I think you are putting 20 on 10, honey. Rather than continue down this path, Dixon took the heroic step of reporting the sexual harassment to the EEOC. After reporting the sexual harassment, defendants did not make any investigation into the complaint and did not take any steps to prevent further harassment from occurring. Because defendants took no action to prevent further assault or harassment, Dixon had to quit his job working on the last season of The Oval. Excuse me. Dixon did so even though he was under contract to finish filming and stood to make close to $400,000. Dixon did not want to be sexually harassed or be placed in danger of sexual assault again. Defendant then retaliated against Dixon. Defendant told Dixon that if he quit and told the other actors why he quit, he would be in breach of his contract. Defendants told Dixon that the only way out was to portray his departure from the show as a medical leave due to the emotional distress caused by sexual harassment. The leave of absence was to be paid medical leave. Instead, defendant made the leave of absence unpaid and therefore terminated plaintiff's employment, causing Dixon additional loss of income and insult. Oh boy. Okay, first cause of action. Quid pro quo sexual harassment. Plaintiff incorporates by reference and realleges herein each and every one of the allegations contained in the proceeding for Gulkenbar. At relevant times, Mr. Dixon was an employee. Alternatively, Mr. Dixon was an actor. Tyler Perry made unwanted sexual advances towards Mr. Dixon. Excuse me. Tyler Perry also made unwanted verbal and physical conduct of a sexual nature. The terms of employment, job benefits, opportunities for continued work, additional pay, all were contingent on Mr. Dixon's acceptance of Tyler Perry's sexual advances or conduct. Mr. Perry made it clear to Mr. Dixon that he would kill off Mr. Dixon's character if he did not indulge Mr. Perry's sexual harassment. After Mr. Perry made his move and sexually assaulted Mr. Dixon, Perry offered Dixon the opportunity to make a show if he remained silent about the assault, furthering the quid pro quo arrangement. Eventually, Mr. Dixon could not continue working given the continued quid pro quo harassment. The work conditions were such that Mr. Dixon was constructively terminated. At all relevant times, Mr. Perry was a supervisor or agent as identified in California law. So, in other words, Tyler Perry was the boss. As a further direct proximate defendants in the conduct plaintiff suffered. Okay, that's he talked about that about he felt nauseous and stressed and all the things. Okay. Plaintiff is further entitled to recover reasonable attorney fees. Okay. Defendants committed the acts herein alleged maliciously and fraudulently with the wrongful intention of injuring the plaintiff. Let's see, because the acts taken towards plaintiff were carried out by managerial employees acting in a despicable, deliberate, cold, callous, and intentional manner in order to injure and damage plaintiff. Plaintiff is entitled to recover punitive damages from the defendant. Work environment harassment. Okay. Again, Tyler Perry made severe unwanted sexual advances and made unwanted verbal and physical conduct of a sexual nature toward Mr. Dixon, which caused the work environment to be hostile, intimidating, offensive, oppressive, or abusive. Okay. A reasonable person in Mr. Dixon's circumstance would have considered the work environment to be hostile, intimidating, offensive, oppressive, or abusive. Okay. Let's scan. Mr. Dixon had no other avenue. So I'm just scanning through this because this is just kind of doubling down on what we've already read. Yep, we've already read that about him threatening to kill off his character if he didn't comply. We already read that as well within the complaint. The third cause of action is sexual harassment in defined relationship. Let's see. Mr. Dixon had business or professional relationship with Mr. Perry. Defendant Perry used his authority to coerce and exploit the plaintiff to spend time with him on several occasions so that defendant Perry could physically, psychologically, and or emotionally through force, manipulation, emotional abuse, intimidation, and retaliation abuse the plaintiff. These acts were done for defendant Perry's sexual gratification. Mm, 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 mm. As a further direct and proximate result of defendant's aforementioned conduct, plaintiff suffered physical sickness, physical injuries, body pains, anxiety, worry, embarrassment, humiliation, injury to her professional and his injury to his professional reputation, mental anguish, emotional stress, and post-traumatic stress disorder, in an amount to be proven at trial. Plaintiff is further entitled to recover reasonable attorney fees. Fourth cause of action, workplace gender violence. Okay, so they're going through the different cause of actions right here. Let's see. One or more acts that would constitute a criminal offense under the law. Well, if it's a criminal offense under the law, why not go to the police? Why not go to the police? The question we always ask in some of these cases. Especially if the statute of limitations has not run out. Why not go to the police if it's a criminal act? Hmm? Why not? One or more acts that would constitute a criminal offense under state law that has the use, attempted use, or threatened use of physical force against the person or property of another, committed at least in part based on the gender of the victim, whether or not those acts have resulted in criminal complaints, charges, prosecution, or conviction. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. The acts of defendants as alleged herein were willful, wanton, and malicious, and were intended to oppress and cause injury to the plaintiff. In light of the willful, wanton, malicious, and intentional conduct engaged in by defendants, plaintiff is entitled to an award of punitive damages. And the fifth cause of action is violation of the Bain Act and violation of California Civil Code. Okay. So plaintiff civil code, blah blah blah. The Bain Act provides that it is unlawful to interfere with the exercise or enjoyment of any rights under the Constitution and laws of this state and the United States by use or attempted use of threats, intimidation, or coercion. Okay, so as alleged herein, defendants engaged in severe and outrageous sexual harassment and sexual assaults against plaintiff. Defendants' acts were calculated to prevent plaintiff from working free of sexual harassment or violence, and defendants' acts were further calculated to prevent the plaintiff from reporting defendants' unlawful conduct. Plaintiff's sex was a substantial motivating reason for the defendant's unwanted physical contact and ultimate sexual harassment and sexual assaults. Plaintiff is informed and believed in thereon alleges that the aforementioned conduct of defendants in each of them denied, aided, or incited in a denial of, discriminated, or made a distinction that denied plaintiff full and equal advantages, privileges, and services to plaintiff based solely upon plaintiff's refusal to submit to continued sexual advances and his objections to the physical harassment that was inflicted upon, why they keep saying her, upon her, and therefore constituted a violation of the Bain Act. Okay. Then he talks more about his body pains. Okay. Sixth cause of action, sexual battery. So defendant Tyler Perry intended to cause harmful or offensive contact with Mr. Dixon's buttocks and other sexual areas on multiple occasions, and a sexually offensive contact with Mr. Dixon resulted. Okay. Mr. Dixon did not consent to the offensive contact. Mr. Dixon was harmed and offended by Mr. Perry's conduct. Defendants committed the acts herein allegedly maliciously and fraudulently with the wrongful intention of injuring plaintiff and with an improper and evil motive rising to the level of malice and conscious disregard of plaintiff's rights. Because the acts taken towards plaintiff were carried out by managerial employees acting in a despicable, deliberate, cold, callous, and intentional manner in order to injure and damage the plaintiff. Plaintiff is entitled to recover punitive damages from the defendants. Seventh cause of action is sexual assault. Tyler Perry acted intending to cause harmful or offensive conduct that Mr. Dixon reasonably believed that he was about to be touched in a harmful or offensive way. Did he believe that he was about to be touched or was he touched? That Mr. Dixon did not consent to Tyler Perry's conduct. Mr. Dixon was harmed by Mr. Perry's conduct. Tyler Perry's conduct was a substantial factor in causing Mr. Dixon's harm. As a further direct and proximate result of defendant's aforementioned conduct, plaintiff suffered physical sickness, physical injuries, body pains, anxiety, worry, embarrassment, humiliation, injury to his professional reputation, mental anguish, emotional distress, post traumatic stress disorder in an amount to be proven at trial. Plaintiff is further entitled to recover reasonable attorney fees, costs, and prejudgment interest in connection with this matter. Eighth cause of action: negligent hiring, supervision, or retirement. I'm sorry, or retention of an employee. As alleged herein, defendants in each of them and or their managerial employees or agents knew or reasonably should have known that employees of defendants were engaging in the unlawful, harassing, and discriminatory conduct alleged herein. Defendants in each of them knew or should have known that their employees, including but not limited to Tyler Perry, had a history of engaging in unlawful or dangerous conduct that could cause injury to plaintiff and others, yet failed to take any action to prevent such injury. In fact, it is alleged that Christian Keys, there they go. In fact, it is alleged that Christian Keys and others may have been subjected to the same sexual harassment. And TPS knowingly covered up the harassment to protect Mr. Perry. It's Tyler Perry's company. What are they going to turn this into a RICO to? At all relevant times, defendants in each of them and or their managerial employees or agents knew or reasonably should have known that the conduct and omissions alleged herein violated plaintiff's rights under state statutes and common law. All right. At all times, the negligent failure of defendants to protect plaintiff and to supervise, prohibit, control, regulate, discipline, and or otherwise penalize adequately the conduct and omissions of defendants' employees violated plaintiff's rights under state statutes and common law and was a substantial factor in causing plaintiff's harm, as alleged herein. Ninth cause of action: intentional infliction of emotional distress. Okay, we don't have to read this because it's going to be more the same what we've already read. 10th cause of action: retaliation. Oh, this is where he said he was shot and killed on the Oval because he wouldn't get down with Tyler. We don't have to do all of that. Plaintiff stood to make around $400,000 for his role in season 7 of the Oval. But he said, I'm going to give it all up because you keep trying to touch me. At all relevant times, defendants in each of them and or their managerial employees or agents knew or reasonably should have known that unless they intervene to protect the plaintiff and adequately supervise, prohibit, control, regulate, discipline, and or other penalize the conduct of defendants' employees as alleged herein, other defendants and in defendants' employees receive wait a minute, and the employees, let's see if I got that right, perceived the conduct and omissions as being ratified and condoned. So you didn't check it, so that must mean you co-signing it. All right, prayer for relief. The plaintiff prays for judgment as follows: for special, general, punitive, and compensatory damages according to proof at trial, for reasonable attorneys' fees, expert witness fees, and other litigation expenses pursuant to law, for injunctive relief where the court deems appropriate, for all other relief the court deems appropriate and just, for a total amount of damage, including punitive damages of $260 million. Respectfully submitted, dated June 13th, 2025. By the law offices of Jonathan J. Delshaw, law offices of Jonathan, okay. Attorney for the plaintiff, Derek Dixon. That is it, y'all. That is a complete reading of what has been filed against Tyler Perry. Now, I'll be brief in my summation of what I just read. I don't believe Tyler Perry did what this man is accusing him of. I based on how this complaint is worded, how it paints a different narrative when you read the text messages, and then when you read the narrative they've created around the text messages, they don't align. That's a red flag to me. I believe Tyler Perry and this man definitely were having some type of flirtatious, if not more than that, relationship. I believe this dude now has sour grapes and is trying to cash out. And he may not even be all that sour, but there's an opportunity for him to cash out, and I think he's trying to take it. If more evidence comes out to change my opinion, I am definitely always open to change my opinion because, quite frankly, anybody out here from what we've seen is capable of doing anything. So I will never hold anybody in a position of, oh, that person could never. All I need is the information to make me think that, because right now that is not what I have and what I just read. So that's it. So we will see where we go from here. We will see if there's some kind of settlement based off of what I just read. I hope Tyler Perry does not settle with him. This is a weak case. This is not a Diddy case. This is not a Shannon Sharp case at all. This is a weak case. And I thought it was weak when I read those text messages, but I said, let me go and read the whole complaint because maybe there's more there. There's a lot of other incidents mentioned in the complaint. I'm not sold on it. I think it's weak. So hopefully Tyler Perry will not settle, especially if he know he's not done anything wrong. But we'll see. We'll see as more information comes out. There could be information that comes out to make me change my perception. But as of this moment, right now, I'm not buying it. Derek Dixon. I smell a rat. I smell a rat. All right, y'all. Until next time. Bye, y'all.